Is the Acolyte good? Well... Hello friends, and welcome back to a different kind of video. There's been a lot of back and forth about the new Star Wars series, The Acolyte, with many saying, Star Wars is back! Disney has ruined Star Wars. This is so peak. This ruined canon. Oh my god, they're so hot. Lesbian space wizards in my Star Wars? The Acolyte is the best thing to happen in the Disney era. This show was a convoluted mess. It was all over the place. It broke canon multiple times. It interjected characters that didn't belong. So anyways, this has led me upon a pivotal question. And after watching the entire show in 3 whole days, I believe I may have the answer that you're looking for. We all know that as Star Wars fans, the best way to determine whether the Acolyte is good or not is by numbers and graphs, and not, watching it and forming your own opinion. And I figured that the most accurate way to calculate it is a pros and cons list. If at the end of our research there are more pros than cons on the list, we can rule that The Acolyte is officially a good series.
The following video will spoil many plot points for The Acolyte, including major reveals, cameos, and the entire finale. If you wish to finish the series, now is your chance to do so. And if you would rather just hear me rant about it, you have been warned.
So the first thing that I wanted to talk about is the choreography. Since when watching the show, that is 100% what is going to jump out the most. And let me tell you, it is immaculate. It's fast, it's in your face, and it does not hold back. None of that weak bozo shit from recent Star Wars shows. Ugh. Just take a look at that fight scene at the beginning of Night. They're flying at each other. The stranger pulls no punches. He kills a Jedi just like that. And then using the armor to stop his opponent's saber blades. Ah! Hang on a second. I need to go use the restroom. Another thing that I absolutely adore is how every single character fights with a completely different style. You got May and Osha, who both have no formal training, so they rely on hand-to-hand combat and blasters. Then there's Sol, who focuses more on defensive moves, probably because going on the offensive turned out bad for him in the past. There's Jackie, who is aggressive as hell, almost like Ahsoka or Qui-Gon. And then Kelnaka fights slowly, putting his entire strength and weight into each blow. And finally there's Kamir, or the Stranger. Someone who is clearly stronger in the Force than everyone else, and uses it to his advantage during the fight sequences. God, it's all so cool! Christopher Cohen, I wanna kiss you! So, yeah, definitely a huge positive. The other most notable thing in this show is the writing. And the poor writing at that. Not to say it's all bad, I think specifically the ending works really well from a storytelling perspective. The dialogue, however, it just never really hits the mark for me. It's just so stilted. It's like they have no idea how a real person would reveal information. And it almost completely disregards the rule of showing, not telling. Which makes me so angry because there's that one scene where Sol has just lost a bunch of Jedi, and he goes and he pounds his fist on the table, and it's such brilliantly acted with no words, and then they never do that again. For the most part, you get these conversations which are just ass. Now, how about we move on to the characters, huh? Starting with Sol and Jeki, because I'm gonna tell you right off the bat, those are my favorite characters in this whole shebang. Jeki is funny, level-headed, and surprisingly tactful for a Padawan. And she goes out in the most badass way, hands down. It's awesome. Meanwhile, Sol is so troubled, but he never thinks about himself. He is selfless constantly, and that makes his tale one of the most tragic possible. Because in his quest to be wholly selfless, he loses sight of what other people would want. He's also just so damn likable, clearly a great teacher, and an amazing reminder that, well, Jedi are never perfect. They're the best that the universe has. It also helps that Li Zhangzhe and Daphne Keane are both incredible actors. I don't know how she's like 19 or whatever. And they just sell their characters so well. Now, Yord, on the other hand. Yord. Who the fuck thought of the name Yord? He sounds like a vegetable. Yord is just stupid. And it's not his fault, it's the shitty writing, but all the time he's just confused. He's like, whoa, what is that? And it's just a way for the writers to spell everything out for you, because media literacy does not exist, like, at all anymore. And the thing that pisses me off the most about Yord is that he just feels like a great value version of Anakin. It's like they just sucked the soul completely out of him. He's just like this Anakin husk that's just blowing in the wind. Hashtag fuck Yord, he sucks balls, and he's just a shitty discount Anakin clone. Hashtag Yord is over party. Also, why does he take off his shirt? Manny Jacinto's right there. And speaking of Manny, Smilo Ren is so fucking cool. I don't care what anybody else says. This is what Kylo Ren wishes he was. It's not a discount Kylo Ren, it's what Kylo Ren wishes he was. The Stranger is creepy, he's imposing, he's a badass, and he's relatable. Oh my god, when you give the Sith the time of the day, they start to make great points. I love the little touches of the Sith code that's just sprinkled in everywhere throughout the series. And this guy's gotta have the coolest gear in the entire Star Wars universe, right? I mean, the helmet not only looks amazing, it's also practical. And the lightsaber with the other lightsaber in it, oh my god! Stranger might be my favorite Sith other than Anakin. And Starkiller, but he's not canon anymore. I'll have to give it a bit, but that could become a real possibility. Now that that's over, I guess we had to talk about it at some point. Space lesbians. I am so conflicted on the Brendock witches. On one hand, they're cool as fuck, and they would absolutely be out there. If you actually sit there and tell me, oh, these witches can't exist. This is a world where we fight people with giant glow sticks and choke people with an invisible force. What do you mean? The cool part about this franchise is how unabashedly ludicrous it is. The world building is insane, and this is just another example of that. If you don't like it, whatever. But, like, the Night Sisters already existed. This is just such a nothing burger of an argument. Now that being said, there is the other hand. They're not great in execution, as cool as they are in the idea. The fire killing the entire coven, except for May, has got to be one of the stupidest things I've ever seen. That is not an understatement. So, with that all being said, they're just a little underwhelming in their execution, so I do have to put them in cons. There's just really no point. One thing I do love about Brendock, though, is that it showcases the utter arrogance of the Jedi. That is the reason, after all, that the Republic eventually fell and the Sith began to take over. This show does a great job of showcasing how a situation like that would even come to be. Sol believes he's saving kids, boom, he kills their mom. Indira thinks that keeping the secret will protect Osha, boom, she's on the dark side. Venestra blames the Jedi murders on Sol, boom. Actually, I have no idea how this one will play out. I assume we'll find out in Season 2 if it doesn't get cancelled because of review bombing. Unfortunately, there cannot be good in the Acolyte without an equally opposite reaction. And that comes in the fact that this series is not subtle, one teeny little morsel. It's shoved down my throat in Mach speed. And I'm like, I don't want this. I want to savor my food. And they're like, take it like a good boy. So, I guess put this in cons. They also introduced so much shit to live action. Oh my god, it's incredible. The Stranger with his Cortosis helmet is sick. Bleeding a Kyber crystal in real time? I don't care if it wasn't like the comics. You can't tell me that is not the coolest thing you've ever seen in your entire life. And also, wiping memories with the Force, like, that's existed forever and it's just never been on screen. Are you kidding me? We got Darth Plagueis. We got Darth Plagueis. Ah! Which I am, of course, conflicted on. I have been waiting for him forever, but my huge problem with cameos in this show is they all feel like they don't need to be there. Having Plagueis and Yoda in the finale is cool, but it feels like it just cheapens the entire show as a result. Like, they felt they couldn't rely on their storytelling alone. They had to introduce these cameos for people to actually care, which turned out to be the case, but hey, I'm gonna put it as a con anyways. And Ki-Adi-Mundi just seemed to confuse everyone because, like, hardcore fans still don't know the difference between the Legends continuity and the Disney continuity, even though it's extremely easy to just look it up on Wikipedia. Like, I don't understand. I actually didn't hate that one because Jedi that are on the council in the prequels would just kind of be hanging around at this time, especially if they have an extremely long lifespan. But it could have been like Oppo Rancisis. I just feel like I'm that guy's only fan. Oh god. Now I'm thinking of Oppo Rancis's OnlyFans.
Whoa! Where am I? I'm outside underneath the stars. Seems like a fitting place to discuss Star Wars. And, we've come to a tie. 5 pros and 5 cons. And only 1 point left. And so, I felt like discussing it here, of all places, would be fitting. The twins, Varosha and Meho Anasea.
Or should I not say twins? Is that disrespectful because they're the same person? I honestly am so lost with how I feel towards the twins. First of all, let me get this out of the way. We see a lot of them as children. The actresses that got to play them as children are not very good. Point blank, period. But they're children, so I will give them the benefit of the doubt. Now, Amandla Stenberg. First of all, why is there an L in there? And secondly, I have no clue whether this is a good performance or not. It's just so all over the place. And I don't know whether it's the bad acting or bad directing or just the fact that it has to be extremely challenging to act opposite yourself. But I just wasn't sold. I'll probably have to go with a combination of the three. I think especially in the scene where Osha kills Sol and turns to the dark side, that is a huge, huge moment, and she just is sitting there with just zero expression on her face. You couldn't have asked her to run that one back? I mean, come on. Isn't that your job? But, while I do have a problem with the performance of the twins, I do love the way they're written. Just absolutely love it. That is a very controversial take, don't get me wrong, but I think a lot of people are missing a crucial part when they examine the twins. Osha and May are the physical representation of the Force, or at least that is what is implied to us throughout the story. So, in all times, there has to be a balance, like a yin and yang situation. One is dark, and the other is light. That is why they flip sides so drastically at the end. Osha's world comes crashing down, and she falls, whereas May rises up to meet the balance of the Force. It's a tragic tale that the two will always be at odds, never at peace, but it is an amazing tale nonetheless. And with that being said, I think the twins are... I have no idea. In the Acolyte, there must always be balance, including balance between something incredible and absolute horseshit. But, hey, that's just the way the cookie crumbles sometimes. And as we sit here and the sun rises, form your own opinion. I'm not here to tell you what to think. I'm just a guy who happens to like Star Wars. And consider subscribing, of course, so I can make more content just like this. Peace.